Imagine if you could easily find solutions to make your region or city smarter, greener, better connected, more social, and closer to citizens. The Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform can help you access knowledge about the latest policy trends, discover expert-validated good practices from all over Europe, find solutions in our peer review, get tailored support from our expert team. We can connect you with the right people and organizations. Together, we will find ways to solve your region's or city's challenges. Start your policy learning journey today.
So hello, everybody. Welcome to this Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform webinar. Happy to see a big interest in the topic. And the topic then is fostering entrepreneurship through co-working spaces. My name is Mart Veliste. I'm one of the thematic experts under Smarter Europe on the platform. Together, co-moderating the session with me is my colleague Luke, who we'll see also on the screen. And in the background, we have our colleague Lotte. Hi, Lotte, and she will be then also sharing different links and materials via the chat with you. And then if you have any questions, technical issues, you can also write directly to Policy Learning Platform to ask for advice on how to resolve your issue. Today, in the next 90 minutes or so, we're going to be tackling then this co-working topic. We will have 3 speakers. We encourage you to ask questions from our speakers, so please use this Q&A feature of Zoom to send in any questions you have. We really want to tailor this experience as much as possible to your needs and to your inquiries. But now a few words still to sort of set the scene. So why did we decide a webinar on this co-working spaces topic? Well, basically, together with my colleague Luke, we've looked at other physical spaces that can help foster entrepreneurship or help businesses grow. So whether it's incubators or these digital innovation hubs, but we really haven't looked in this format that closely at these sorts of co-working spaces or co-working hubs or business hubs as such. And we see that this topic has become increasingly relevant since the COVID-19 pandemic, which really changed the nature of the way people work and how they prefer to work. It's also tightly connected to, I'd say, more remote working when people maybe are not in the urban centers anymore, but go back to the more rural areas to run their business or just to work remotely. So we've been hearing this interest in the topic of co-working spaces from our community for the past few years. And we've actually addressed this topic to some of our tailored services that we have on the platform, these expert services, the peer review and matchmaking, which I will tell you more about at the end of the webinar. And we also saw with these exchanges with a small group of individuals that there is a lot to unpack here and a lot of interesting insights for regions in Europe to learn. So now it felt like a great time to actually bring this topic to the wider audience of Interreg Europe. So we hope that this will be an insightful session for you. What are co-working spaces? I presume you have some idea of what they might be, having come to this webinar, but on this slide, there are just a few sort of, I think, keywords. They're shared work environments that help foster collaboration. Usually have individuals or companies, different ones then coming to the same premise. And the idea is that you somehow build synergies, either directly or somehow informally through the water cooler talks or some joint lunches and things like that. So it offers really a space for networking, collaboration. Also personal growth is often a part of this, why people prefer to go to co-working spaces. They tend to also offer state-of-the-art facilities so that you might not have in your home office. So it's convenient to go to this co-working space where you have high-speed internet and other maybe video conferencing tools and so on. It can also be a cost-effective alternative for a company or for an individual to rent this working desk or this small office there rather than to rent something on their own completely. And usually we see in these co-working spaces really these small companies, startups, as an entry point to sort of establish their business. And as I mentioned earlier, we've tackled this topic through other of our expert services before, and through these exchanges with different specialists, we've understood that you can actually have different goals in terms of a co-working space. So the co-working space itself can have different goals for the managers, but it can also have different policy goals for those who are maybe supporting or financing it. And what we've heard is that in some cases, the spaces are really used to attract remote workers or digital nomads as a way to open up, I don't know, the countryside to these high-tech individuals to come to the region, enjoy the nature, enjoy the hiking trails, and then do their work as well. But in some other cases, really, it's about providing a space and services to the local community. So they become like local hubs for both entrepreneurs, but also other individuals, and we have some cultural events. And really, the purpose is something somewhat more social. And then today, what we're tackling and we're looking at more concretely is fostering entrepreneurship. So how do these spaces can really help support our entrepreneurs, encourage an entrepreneurial spirit in our regions, and then, of course, also help grow the businesses that are being established. And today, we have then 3 speakers. We have a keynote by Stephen Carolan from the Ireland's National Hubs Network. We will set the scene about this big policy initiative they have set in Ireland. Then we go to Finland, and Eeva Arpala will talk about HUBI25. It's a communal workspace. It's located in a remote area. And then we go back a bit into a more urban setting again with Xavi, talking about the local network of business centers they have in San Sebastian, but putting it also into a context of how the city itself positions itself as a hub for innovative entrepreneurship. So this is the agenda of the 3 speakers. But before we get to Stephen's presentation, we would also like to know who's together with us in the audience today. And we'll launch a small poll. First, we would like to understand whether you are coming from a more urban or more rural area. So the poll should be in front of your screen. And there's a second question, which is asking you to indicate whether in your region you have some publicly supported or managed co-working spaces. So I give you a few seconds to answer. In the meantime, I can say also that this webinar is being recorded, as Zoom also notified you. And at the aftermath of this event, we also write up a short article, so you will have access also to the lessons learned and the recording of the event. And I see that answers are coming in quite nicely. Okay, and as it's been active for around a minute, then I think, Lotte, we can share the results. So a pretty even split, a bit more towards the urban areas today in terms of the participants. And actually quite many of you do have some co-working spaces supported by the public sector in your area. Thank you for participating. We have one more question, so we could also launch the third question. And here we are asking whether in your region is co-working or remote working also part of any national or regional or local policies? So is this something that's somehow being directed or regulated by policymakers, or is it still in the early stages in that sense? Because we see, at least I've seen, that in some regions it's really a private sector's field. In some other cases, the public sector is taking a more active role. It'd be interesting to know how is it in your case. Just give you 10 more seconds. Okay. And I think we can end the poll. And it's actually really nice that in many cases there is some sort of component in the policy on these topics already, and in other cases not, or there is you're not so aware of whether it is done so or not. So this is a nice backdrop actually, because it leads into our keynote speaker, Stephen, because in the Irish case it's definitely in the national policy, and you also cover both urban and rural areas as far as I've understood. So Stephen, I encourage you to start sharing your screen, and walk us through this impressive practice you have on the national level in Ireland.
Okay, Mart, can you hear me and
I can hear you. We can see you. I can see the slides as well.
That's a good start. Okay, my name is, thanks Mart for inviting me along to the webinar, and good afternoon everyone. My name is Stephen Carolan, and I work for an organization, government organization called the Western Development Commission. And we're based in the west of Ireland, and our remit is to economic and social development of the west of Ireland. I joined this the organization 5 years ago to run to head up a project that was just focused on the west of Ireland only. So we were very much in Ireland. Our counties really they're really how our country is governed. We have the local authorities in all our different counties. So our counties go from, in the west of Ireland, Donegal all the way down to Clare, and then also Limerick and Kerry were involved in this project. And back then that was called the Atlantic Economic Corridor. And because this is a policy learning platform, that was just a case study. The Atlantic Economic Corridor was just a case study in one of our government policies at the time. So it was really, this project was called the AEC Enterprise Hub Network, and it was really just a 3-year project, a pilot project, and it was really just, let's see where it goes from there. And what we were trying to do was look at all the enterprise hubs, co-working hubs, and community hubs that are based across the west of Ireland, and see what value could we bring by creating a network, where an umbrella network where they could all begin to start sharing best practice, begin to share knowledge about what they do, how they run their hubs. Can we use that then to raise the standards in all the hubs, raise the understanding, raise awareness of the hubs as well in the communities that are based in? Because we found when we started the project that there was an awful lot of people didn't realize that these hubs are out there, and they didn't really understand what they did. So this is about fostering an entrepreneurship, and we found that the awareness wasn't out there in the entrepreneurial community to know that these are a place where they could go in and grow their business. So startups and budding entrepreneurs operating out of their maybe kitchen table or whatever are moving on. They thought their next progression was to rent out, take a lease on a building or an office, which has given them a huge burden, a huge overhead. And that's one of the solutions that the hubs can bring for the benefits they can bring for the entrepreneur. So when we started this project in 2019, which was about 9 months before COVID, we looked across our region to see where was the information on hubs, and it wasn't there. There was no one authority that had a data set, if you like, of where the hubs were and where they weren't. Some of our hubs have been funded by Enterprise Ireland, which is a government agency in Ireland, which is focused on developing enterprise. And a lot of hubs had been funded by that, but there were not a lot of other hubs that had grown up, co-working spaces and community hubs that had grown up organically over the years, and they weren't captured anywhere in any data set anywhere. So our first challenge was to do a discovery process with all the various government agencies and then establish a baseline data set of hubs across the country. So we have that, it's on our website now, and we are the registrar of all hubs in the country. When you say in Europe, you use the phrase co-working, Mart. We use the phrase hubs over here, but we use it interchangeably in Europe and with the co-working phrase, and we'll be moving towards your definition or your understanding of it. We focus on the word hubs because there's so much other activity that goes on in the hubs, and our network in Ireland is a small country, obviously. We've discovered that there are potentially 400 hubs across the country, but they're a very disparate group. They can be classified. We have a classification system which is on our website, but just to roughly run through it, they can be broken down into 5 categories. At the very top, we have a small number, less than 10, which we refer to as scaling hubs. And that's an internal policy phrase. It's not a marketing phrase. These are really big facilities running accelerators, running all kinds of business development programs. These hubs would have a team, they would have a manager, and they would have a team running their facility. So that's a very small, we call them scaling hubs because they're getting companies ready for scaling export and international trade. Then we have a group in the middle, which we refer to as enterprise hubs, and they provide business supports, but maybe not at the same level as these bigger scaling hubs, and they wouldn't have the same level of staffing. They would also provide they would also be engaged in their local communities more, and they would be, since COVID-19, they're beginning to develop more offerings for co-workers. So these are remote workers working for organizations, working for businesses, working for multinationals. So they begin to look at, and that's helping them with their rent roll, and that's helping them, their sustainability of that particular cohort or hubs. Then there's a co-working hubs classifications, and they're dedicated, they're largely private owned, but there are a few publicly owned ones. And they're dedicated. They're largely located in urban areas. And co-working is what they do. They rent out desks, they rent out offices, they rent out hot desks, and they rent out meeting rooms. And that's their main strategic focus. And then the biggest, because Ireland is a very rural area, and we do love our rural regions here in Ireland, the community and enterprise hub classification. And that is a mixed. When I was talking about the hubs evolving organically over the years, basically they've been chasing different types of funding to do different types of activity, and they're the enterprise and community hubs. That's what we classify them as. And their strategic focus is community, but since COVID-19 and maybe before it, some of the more astute hub managers have recognized that there's an opportunity to provide co-working spaces, meeting rooms, and also own door office facilities for local entrepreneurs, where they might not be providing business supports. They would be providing a place where a flexible professional office environment for these local entrepreneurs, and that's keeping them in our rural regions across Ireland, and that's then having a knock-on effect on our rural economy, because they're living locally and they're spending locally, which is keeping other traditional businesses going. So that's what the landscape of the hub network in Ireland looks like. You can see that there's a patch up in Northern Ireland that we haven't challenged yet, but we're working on that as well. There's actually a feasibility study to extend this project, which is called Connected Hubs, into the Northern Ireland. But it's just a feasibility study at the moment. Nothing might ever come of it, but we are looking at it, and there is interest from the hubs in the north. So what did we do? When we started the plan back in 2019 to develop this network, we talked to all our stakeholders across the region, got all our hub managers together at in-person events. So we hosted these events in hotels across the country in the Western Seaboard at the time. And we asked them what the challenges were and what we could provide for them. And one of the things they said to us was, well, we'd like to network more with each other. We'd like an opportunity and some mechanism to do that. Can you do that? So we said, okay, let's put that on the list. Then we looked at what kind of technology could we bring to bear on this network and we looked at, we decided that, or we came upon this idea that if we looked around, we've seen there were models out there like Airbnb, for example. Could we provide something similar to that for all our hubs? Because many of our hubs, especially the rural ones, and many of our enterprise hubs as well, didn't have the capacity to be able to keep their websites 100% up to scratch. At the time, nobody had booking engines. Everyone's got a booking engine now. Local barbers have booking engines now, but back then very few had. So we could provide a booking engine for them so that people could find them, book them, pay for them. And we've evolved that process now from where we're really just advertising hot desks and meeting rooms and individual offices. We've evolved that process now through the technology where we'll be able to provide the service to a corporate that wants to open a satellite office in a hub. We can work that through the platform as well, and it allows them to pay using a mechanism that's suitable to them, because corporates want to be maybe paying or billed on a quarterly or on a monthly basis. So all that type of technology is brought to bear now, and it's called connectedhubs.ie. It's a website. It's got some publications up there with lots of useful information. It has our classification system on it, but in the background, it provides a lot of management tools for the hub managers to be able to manage their hub. And they didn't have this when we started this project, and now they do have it. And we're quite proud of the platform at the moment. We think it's very, very robust. And that's connectedhubs.ie is the platform, and that is free to use for all our hubs. And that's a government decision. That's a policy decision, and that was based on the research that we provided and to our government department. So in Ireland, as I said, I work for the Western Development Commission, and our parent department is the Department of Rural and Community Development. So we work hand in glove with them. We really work like a project management office for this project, because our remit is the West. We're spread all over the country. In our network, we have 360 hubs at the moment, and we hope to have 400 by next year. We have a network of meeting rooms, and we have capacity for 2,000 to 2,000 desks. We are now ensconced in. We're in policy documents all over government at the moment, which is great. Project Ireland 2040, which is mentioned there, is our long-term development policy for the country. And then we have a number of other policies here. Making remote work, which is from the Department of Enterprise. We have a number of actions under that, and our hub network is featured there. And our Rural Future is our government department's Bible for the development of rural Ireland, and the Connected Hubs, which is the marketing name for the National Hub Network, because National Hub Network doesn't exactly slip off the tongue, whereas Connected Hubs is very memorable, we hope, or very marketable, and that features strongly in our Rural Future. The whole network is just not us running around doing this on our own willy-nilly. It is steered by a national or by an interdepartmental group, and in Ireland that means that a number of government departments have come together to coalesce around an idea and drive it on as a policy. So that's what's happening here, and there's some of the stakeholders that are involved in that. Department of Rural and Community Development chair that. Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, Climate and Communications, etc., are all involved in that. So the big ticket items, like the National Hub strategy that we're actually working on at the moment. So I was on a call earlier this morning with various government departments refining that, and that'll be ready for publication this year. So Mart, you mentioned earlier in your poll there, is it a feature in government policy and being driven by it? It very much is in Ireland. And I think we're going to have the first National Hub strategy potentially in Europe for our hub network. So that'll drive its development over the next 3 years. So these are kind of some of the key areas that we are involved in. We provide the booking system, as I said already. We're a policy, we're a mouthpiece for policy, so we're informing policy really in real time. We bring our hubs together in fortnightly calls, and we share knowledge on those calls. We make links, connections, and we feel that we're a place that the hubs can come to with problems, challenges. We don't have all the answers, but the network has them. So if we can't solve them, we get them out there, and that ecosystem, if you like, now is being developed nicely. That's what is a hub. I explained earlier that in Ireland, co-working spaces, we refer to them as hubs here. So they're places that provide, we know what they are at the moment, they provide co-working spaces, they provide business development skill programs, and a host of other services depending on their strategic focus. And one of the things that we're working on at the moment is working with corporates to showcase the hubs as a place, as an idea or as a possible solution to their talent attraction and talent retention problems. Because in Ireland we have a very strong labour market at the moment. There's full employment pretty much. Now that won't last forever, as we know, but at the moment it's very hard to keep and retain staff. So we're saying, and what are staff looking for? They're looking for more flexibility. So what we're saying is, look to the hubs. People can be based in their local communities. They can commute to the head office when they need to, but maybe that doesn't need to be 5 days a week. Maybe it can be 2 days a week, etc. So we're getting a lot of traction with corporates at the moment. They're working through the issues with their internal HR, etc., to see how they can make that happen. But this is another reason why hubs are an ideal solution to foster entrepreneurship. And also, while fostering an entrepreneurship within the hubs, you're also supporting businesses outside it, as I said earlier on, because those people are now based in their local communities and they're spending money in their local economy. And one of the things we're going to be doing through this national strategy is we're going to be measuring the wider societal impact of having a hub in your community. So that's a piece of work I think that will be very, very useful. Where the hubs, as I said earlier, they're spread all over the country. Our CSO, which is our National Statistics Office, they have done they're working with our data team here in the Connected Hubs network, and they have done some research there into where the hubs are across the country. So we're very much getting our tentacles into the various other arms of government, if you like, and engaging with them. Department of Transport, for example, we're engaged with them through our mapping team, and also National Transportation Authority, etc. Okay, we all know about this. They offer hub spaces, meeting rooms, etc. But this is the gravy here, is the what they do, the business supports, the education, business events, community programs, etc. And one program we've rolled out successfully with our third level institute is a Learning in the Hubs program, where we facilitate people to be able to take third level qualifications without leaving their local community. We call that Learning in the Hubs, and that's in a collaboration with the Technology University of the Shannon. So those kinds of activities are happening through the network as well. Benefits from working from a hub versus a home: reduced commute, social engagement, work-life separation, but also the climate contribution from not commuting long distances. I think I'm nearly at my time here, Mart. So why business choose Connected Hubs? I think I mentioned this already, but it's the talent retention, talent attraction, and the opportunity for that their hubs, their staff to still have social engagement rather than working remotely fully 100%. Okay, if you're happy with that, Mart, I can stop sharing.
Yep, thank you very much, Stephen. First of all, I encourage still the audience to write their questions to the Q&A or via chat if that's more convenient for you. I also invite my co-moderator Luke to join me on screen. But from my side, Stephen, I mean, I'm always super impressed because I've heard you speak about it, I think, a few times by now, and we've exchanged also bilaterally. What really stands out to me is this high policy level interest in this in departmental group that is steering it. I also really like how you are also collecting the feedback and input from the hubs, and then you feed it back to the policy making. So it's really, it goes both ways, right? It's not just top down. But I think maybe my question would be, if you could sum up in like one sentence in a way, what is the main motivation for the policymakers who are doing it, for pushing for it? Is it really this knock-on effect on the local economies that you mentioned, or is there something else? What is the sort of the main driver?
It's the development. So the Western Development Commission was set up because the west of Ireland we were suffering from depopulation, and the area we're in is actually under EU nomenclature. We're described as a region in transition. So this project was really about, is there a possibility here to relocate more of our young people, or more of our people, be the young or old or middle age for that matter, back to their communities where they can live and grow and have a career? Is it possible to have that in our really rural areas? And what we're finding is it is possible. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's lots of barriers. We have a housing crisis in Ireland, that type of thing. But to answer your question, it was get more in one tagline, facilitate more people working closer to their home.
Okay. Luke, any questions from your side or from the audience?
Yes, thank you, Stephen. Also from my side, from this nice presentation, I do not see any open questions right now, and I must say, Mart and myself, we had prepared some questions ahead, and you answered almost all of them in your speech. It was very good. But I would maybe one angle I would like to dig into briefly. I understood you have also those co-working spaces in urban environment which are run on some kind of commercial basis, what we know. But I would like to address more the rural areas, which is a large part of your community. What is the profile of the organization? Which kind of organization are behind those hubs? Who is owning and managing them on the rural side?
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, we did a project around pulling together a governance framework for hubs. So any new hubs in rural areas or any urban areas, for that matter, they're looking to set themselves up. There's a range of different constitutions that they can choose from. Many of our hubs in our rural areas I would describe them as social enterprises. They might not even understand that they're social enterprises, but that's what they are. They're a community. We call them CLGs in Ireland. Community are companies limited by guarantee. So their focus is not to provide a dividend for someone or shareholder or whatever. It's to any profits that are made from the facility go back into developing the facility or developing something in the local community. So the majority of them, there are private ones, but they're largely in the urban centres.
Okay, that's very interesting. Are the municipalities heavily involved also?
Yes, that's been one of the. I used to work for a municipality, Mayo County Council. We call them county councils here, where we have the county designation, which we're very fond of. And from this project actually it's been a great way of getting the hubs involved, the community, the municipalities involved. We have what are called local enterprise offices here. I mentioned Enterprise Ireland, which are a huge part of this network. And one of the reasons the network exists in the first place, because they were the original funders, and they have local enterprise offices based in our municipalities. So we're working with them very closely to because they've got programs they want to deliver out to their customers, and this is a new channel to market for them. They can now use the hub. The hubs can potentially be a place where they can go and present their programs, etc., and educate people about what business development supports are there and how to go about getting them. Because the whole there's a huge area in this project around marketing and promotion, and we in our team here we have those expertise, and we do a lot of work on that, and the raising awareness is a big part of that.
I also wanted initially to ask a question about the impact, but I understand that it's something which is going to be studied more deeply in the future.
Yes.
I still have a question here now from the going that direction a bit on from the audience, from Helenia. She's asking about those hubs. They develop opportunities to work in rural areas and in a modern working environment in a rural area. Could you already see some impact on affecting the rural area in other ways, like more leisure activities, more other things developing around because of this audience coming in?
Exactly, and that's why we want. So there's two things to this. There's the economic impact of the hub itself, which is reasonably easy to measure. An economist can do it quite well, and many of our hubs are doing that at the moment. And there's a template there for how you do that. Okay, so what's happening within the four walls and all that, how much gross value add comes from the facility, etc. So what we're going to do under the new National Hub Strategy is one of our actions is going to be around the wider societal impact, and that's exactly, we know that people are reporting increased volunteerism in their local communities. It's something I'm benefiting from myself, because I work from hubs, and I work from our own office, our head office, but I do spend a lot of time working remotely as well. Gives me a lot more time to volunteer and support. So anecdotally, that is out there. It's now a measure, the opportunities there now to capture that. I think that'll be a tricky piece of work, but I think it'll be very, very valuable.
I think it will be of interest to many people. Thank you for that, Stephen. I don't see any more questions, but
I have
maybe we can come back to some aspects in the panel. Mart, maybe you have some additional questions.
I won because this in the end of the slideshow, you talked about these different features that the hubs offer, and it felt to me that you were really emphasizing this business support layer, the hub services, as like a key. So it's not just about the space, but it's also about the events and the things around. So could you just elaborate a bit more on this?
The space itself, okay, desks, meeting rooms, etc. Like they are what they are. They're something we come to put our laptop down or connect up to our Wi-Fi and all the rest of it. But the space itself and the community that grows up within it is hugely valuable and hugely important to the people that are going in there. We are human. We're human beings. We're social creatures, and we do crave those, whether we like it or not, those social engagements. And this is where one of the key things about this whole network is the hub managers. And one of the things I'd love to see coming out of this hub network going forward, and maybe it will emerge under this strategy, is a career path for hub managers, because they are the magic sauce. Whenever a hub manager, we hear that they're retiring or leaving the network to pursue other opportunities, it is a kind of a bolt, it's a bit of a, God, is that really happening and all this, because it is a loss to us. So the hub managers are key. They wear several different hats. They can be involved in several different jobs on a day, and they are the ones that generate these communities and create and make sure there's engagement within the hub. Somebody has to animate the hub, animate the space, provide the opportunities for people to have social engagements, interactions, whatever, and make those linkages with it. For example, many of our rural hubs don't have the capacity to deliver business support programs, but our bigger ones do. And that's why our bigger ones are participating in this network as well, because it's a new market for them. Because the next tech breakthrough, he might not happen to be living right beside this, the big hub in the middle of Galway City. He could be living in rural Belmunnet, but through the local hub there, he can become involved in the programs there that are being ran by this scaling hub, we'll say, in Galway City or Dublin City.
It reminds me a bit of I remember some 20 years ago, we were working a lot with incubators, and there was this profession of incubator manager who was popping up or developing. Maybe the hub manager is something going to be like
absolutely key.
Interesting, yeah.
And therefore, we need also some sort of, let's say, policy awareness, or at least awareness to local level, how to then make sure that this individual stays and is motivated and has the right tools to foster the community, right? So.
Exactly, Martin. If I could double down on that one, like there would be for me, it's a really, because I'm from a very rural area, to have that sort of resource in your local community, I think would be, if there's a policy mechanism that can be developed there, I think it would be, it's as obvious as the nose in our face, as they say here from this project, that these are the key people.
Well, thank you, Stephen. And I think this leads us really nicely to Eeva, who's coming from a very rural area in Finland. And then we see you again, Stephen, in the panel discussion after the next presentation. So Eeva, please, the stage is yours. Tell us about HUBI25, and you're welcome to share your screen as well.
Thank you. I will start sharing. There, I think you see it now.
Yep,
okay.
I see it. Perfect.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you for the possibility to introduce this co-working space, HUBI25 or HUBI25, as we say in Finnish, and how we foster entrepreneurship there in a small town of Alajärvi. So I am Eeva Arpala, and I work for a local leader group, and I am a member of the team who established this co-working space last year. So this is quite new. And where do I come from? Alajärvi is a small town with 9,500 inhabitants, and it's far away from everything, as you can see from the map. But we have more than 1,000 companies, and they are also small, micro companies mostly. So this is a quite vital area, lively. Our companies operate mostly in quite traditional sectors like farming, machinery, maintenance, energy, or retail. Yes, our co-working space is built in a former school restaurant. We have 8 desks and meeting room, coffee for free, of course, and a lakeside view. That's the kind of heart of our place. And other services are studio for photo and video shooting for companies, especially. We have consultation for entrepreneurs, financing from leader, research and development services, and education. And now you wonder how we can have all those services in a small place like this. We see that. Okay. Yes, we have to go to the beginning. At 2009, a local business service company, a University of Applied Science, and our leader group decided to rent offices from our local vocational institute. We wanted to get together and be stronger together and strengthen our cooperation, but also local development. So we formed kind of a development center. We called it Hoiskontie 25, which comes from our street address. And it has been a fruitful place in many ways. We have had a lot of development projects together and so on. But from the beginning, we dreamed that we would have some kind of co-working space. That time, we didn't have a word or concept of co-working or hubs, but we knew that we wanted something like that. And it took quite a long time before we were able to establish it. But around 2020, my company leader, Xabier, had a project with an Irish leader area. And there we got good examples. And we were able to start our own plan for our own co-working space in Alajärvi. Okay, and what kind of community do we have now? It's co-working. It is about community, and our community includes, of course, this development center I described, and the organization and staff from them, and then our co-working clients. About 2 weeks ago, when I studied these numbers, we had 65 registered clients. 10 of them, those were entrepreneurs, 8 students, and the rest of them were remote workers. Of course, not all of them are there every day. We have now, at the moment, about 20% of them are there, let's say, weekly. And about half of them are local and others are around Finland or abroad. Now we are starting this holiday season when kids are also already, schools are over and children have their holidays, so parents are struggling with how to take care of them and do their work, and we are starting to have more and more clients at the moment because they bring their children to grandparents in our area and work with us, and so this is the high season for us. Okay, and what services do we have for entrepreneurs? Of course, at the moment, we, as you saw, our clients are mostly remote workers, but we are focusing a lot on entrepreneurs. We have all kind of events. We have had some about technology or well-being or peer support, for example. And our goal there is to get them to know us and our services. This co-working space is free, as well as the business consulting services, but especially the new entrepreneurs are a bit shy to use them. So we want to invite them there and get to know us, and then it's easier for them to ask for these services also. And then, what else? We have a lot of plans for the future. An office hotel is very much needed and asked, but we don't have it yet. We are planning it and searching for funding to establish it. But also we need to strengthen our services and the networks for companies. And for this, we are looking for funding also. Like I said, the companies in our area are quite traditional. So we need to look more to information-based business and young entrepreneurs, and we also need to develop our own services and skills so we can have new kind of services. And at the moment, we have no funding for this co-working space, and it's free of charge. So you might wonder how we keep it going. But we have this team who established it, and we are running it in addition to our own work. It's fine because we have our offices in the same building. Actually, it's good for us and for our cooperation because it makes us to cooperate daily. So we don't forget ourselves in our own rooms, but we have more to do in common. And of course, this vocational institute where we are, they maintain the premises. It is of course vital for us. Okay, this was very short, but I hope you have questions for me also. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eeva. And I invite again my colleague Luke to come on screen. But I asked the first question, and this question actually was sent to us already during the registration process of the webinar. But I think maybe, Eeva, you are the best positioned to potentially answer this question. So the question was how to start and run a co-working space in a more rural area without a big pool of people around it. So how to start, I think. How did you manage to start?
Well, I would say that most important thing is that for us was the team, that we are not alone, not one organization, but we were 5 organizations, yes, and we all have different things to offer for this co-working space and different skills, and we all could put some funding to it, and also we had a project funding for it. So a team is important, and then it's important to start. It's not really now when I look at it, it's not so difficult. It's not so serious. Yeah, you started and then people come. I assume in all rural areas there are people who need this. It was maybe difficult for us to make people understand that even in Alajärvi, we have people who need this. We are not so traditional. We have people who work with computers.
Okay. Well, thank you for the word of advice. You need to start from somewhere. You need that the team. It's good if the team is multi-organizational with different skill sets. So that's message is quite clear. Luke, have you had any questions from the audience? I think something was popping up on my screen.
Yeah, yes, actually we have, and I will add one from myself, getting into some details. Eeva, thank you for the presentation. So Anne-Marie asks, and I'm very interested also to hear into that. What is an office hotel? What do you think that be?
Yes, with office hotel we need a place where now we have kind of hot desk place where people come in and take a free desk. They don't pay for it. But with office hotel, we mean that we would have desks or rooms that could be, they could be a fee, or they could be rented for a longer period, maybe.
Okay. That's I think that's clear. We will hear from Xavi. We will see that hotel can be meant also like hotel and housing and place to sleep. But I don't want to display too much information. And I've seen, I think, on your presentation the word cyclorama. What is that?
It was one of these pictures. Maybe I will show it again.
Sure.
If I can find it. There. Let's go backwards a little bit. There. It is this white place with no corners. So it's easy to make all kind of photo shooting there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Maybe from my side, I can also ask because you said also that you offer free consultations to entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So what type of consultations are you offering them?
The local consulting company offers consultation for starting a business, buying a company, or developing a company, or getting funding for development and starting a business, all kind of that things. They are also free of charge. and local municipalities offers this. Oh, they are behind this company.
And something that's really stood out still for me from your presentation was this emphasis on community. That for you, the co-working space is about community, if I understood correctly. So can you still elaborate? So what is the essence of community here for you? Is this collaboration of the different organizations or something?
Yes, it is between the different organizations, yes, and also our dream was to get our clients to work together with us, and this is what we are working for. But also we want to offer a nice community for those who work remotely, have been working in homes, and they maybe would like to get away and have some kind of community. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, it did answer my question. Yes, thank you. I was just wondering, I don't know if Stephen, you're here. Does this HUBI25 resemble a bit with the rural spaces you have in Ireland, or you see some differences?
Yeah, it's it does indeed, yeah. And some of many of the challenges that Eeva has outlined there we come across very similar challenges as well. But it's amazing in a rural area. When you get this idea of build it and they will come, it doesn't go down very well. But because we're in Ireland anyway, we're in an area of full employment at the moment. It's amazing what kind of businesses can end up working out of these facilities once the awareness gets around the local community, and how we can support these local entrepreneurs. And so my comment on that.
So I think, and this is what I've heard also locally in Estonia, that you have these doubts that Eeva was saying, not sure how it's going to work and who's going to come. But then once you launch it, people somehow start coming. And then
you do need to do your a feasibility study, and you don't need to hire a consultant to do that. When we began our marketing over here, and I don't know if this chimes well with you, Eeva, but hyper local was where the most impact was. The local community, raising awareness in your local area. So pick a radius around your hub and find out who's working for multinationals, all that kind of work. Where are the entrepreneurs? Talk to the local enterprise offices, and you can start to build up a profile of what your community looks like around you, and from that you can move on then to start having opening days and things like that. And that's something we try to help our hubs with, is we provide them professional marketing assets for them to get the word out into the local community.
I don't know if you still want to reply anything to this or this comment.
Yes, I would. If we would start now, I would say that it would be good to do some research before they start at what kind of people are interested. Are they people who are interested? Yes, they are. But it's a way of marketing before opening the space. We didn't do that. We just, there will be someone.
Yeah, but it worked out for you, at least it seems so. Yeah. Eeva, it was really nice to hear about your practice. Also, Stephen, thank you for the comment. I hope the future plans you showed to us will then come to fruition as you foresee. And then we meet all of you again in the panel discussion. But now I would invite Xavi from San Sebastian to also talk about the local business centers and the general vision of how to develop entrepreneurship in the city, because we're going a bit now to the urban setting again. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mart. Thank you for the invitation to have the chance to present a little bit what we are doing here in San Sebastian. And also I want to congratulate my two colleagues for their impressive best practices. We're changing a little bit the landscape. As you can see, we are a city, San Sebastian, a really beautiful one, as you can see in the picture. I'm Xabier Hualde. I work at the Innovation and in the Innovation and EU Projects department here in Fomento San Sebastian. Let me give you some context about our city. We are a small medium-sized city with almost 200,000 inhabitants, more than 300 if you include the metropolitan area, and we are 25 kilometers from France. Who we are, who I work for. This is Fomento San Sebastián. We are the municipal public innovation company, and our aim, our goal is to promote and develop innovative projects to boost economy and employment in the city, always putting people on the center of the equation, and always through a collaborative model with our ecosystem, as you will see in the different well, best practices or initiatives that I'm going to explain. And our vision is to continue growing as an organization and become, we already are, a key agent, but reach new levels, new heights of innovation in San Sebastian. Just to finish this brief context, we are a city of science and innovation. Some key data or key figures of our city: we invest 3.7% of our GDP in R&D. You can see in comparison, if we compare ourselves to the EU average, or 2.4, and Spain 1.4. We are, it's quite amazing that we are in the top 3 of business density, in Spain, only trailing behind Barcelona and Madrid, which is related also with what we do with physical spaces to foster entrepreneurship. And 49% of our GDP comes from knowledge intensive based companies. So we are a city of science and innovation, and in fact we were designated by the Ministry City of Science and Innovation in 2010, 14, 18, and now we are renewing this label. And in fact, Nature just categorized us as the first city in the world in collaborative science globally in 2017. And here you can see some of the key disciplines in which we are leaders at an international level: biosciences, nanosciences, quantum technologies, new materials, and so on. In part, we are these because we have a clear strategy to foster entrepreneurship. We have this new strategy 2023-27 with the aim of strengthening our international position as a hub for innovative entrepreneurship through 3 main axes: talent development, the project acceleration and scale up, and also the ecosystem connection, with this transversal approach to physical spaces that can help us in developing these 3 axes. When we try to identify, or we wanted to develop this co-design with the private sector, this strategy, instead of focusing or working in silos, we try to tackle the entrepreneur's challenges in a holistic way in order to really identify the problems and develop working lines. So we identify 5 factors, and I'm going, as you can see: bureaucracy, physical space needs, project development, financing, and personal life versus project. So when it comes to physical spaces, we identify 2 different levels. One traditional level, which comes with the professional development, the difficulty of finding adequate premises. The rental cost average here in San Sebastian is really high. The financing of eventual works when you have to adapt the premises, but also the management of activity and construction licenses and deadlines. And we try to identify new working lines and develop them, and we are working on them, such as developing advisory services to identify new premises, how to deal with the municipality in order to deal with the licenses, but also how to deal with it for rental or financing of works on premises, but also reflecting on the business centers that we own as Fomento San Sebastián, which is the next slide. But also, it was really clear to us that access to housing, especially rented, is a great barrier for entrepreneurs when they have to deal with the combination of personal and professional life. And that's why we developed, thanks to a first project that I will show now, a new program and a new building, which is Ekin, to welcome local and foreign entrepreneurs. So this is the more traditional way of working with entrepreneurs. We have 7 business centers all over the city. As you can see, Enertic, PIA, FMA, and so on, they are all dedicated somehow to different sectors. Innovative projects, audiovisual sector, KIPS, gastronomy, IT sector, and so on. And what we provide is what was stressed by my colleagues, not just the physical space, but also those services related to consulting, innovation, internationalization, and also providing more personal spaces in order to combine or to do this conciliation between personal and professional life with gym services, kindergarten, and so on. We have almost 300 spaces available with 90% of meters already booked, but the proportion of co-working spaces is less important, as we have only in these business centers 22 co-working spaces. But because we feel that it's a great complement with the other spaces, meeting rooms, spaces for big events, industrial spaces, and so on that we already have. And now we are in a process of reflection, because we have to adapt them to the new needs of the companies and how we are recovering from the COVID-19 and the new demands from companies, but also because we want to specialize in the new sectors we are working on the city, such as biosciences, quantum, and so on that I was mentioning before. This is the other side of the coin, the innovative approach that we have that we had when we tried to reflect on what the entrepreneurs and people in general that wanted to come to work or work in San Sebastian had as problems, and it comes to accommodation. And I will explain now our two different projects: Talent House, the residence for researchers with 80 apartments, and the new one, which is Ekin, which is a residence for entrepreneurs. So as you can see, the first one is a success story that led us to really make a quite unique bet from the public sector in Europe, because we do not have a lot of references from the public sector doing that kind of bet. For instance, the Ekin residence, the new building had a cost of 20 million euros, and it was co-designed with our R&D ecosystem, the private sector. So it's a quite unique example in Europe, but always combined with this soft landing program that we have that leads to really help you if you come to San Sebastian with the administrative issues, the sanitary system, information about the city, support to families, and so on. So everything that comes with the personal side, that is really important when you have to really settle down in a new place, a new country. So the first one is Talent House, the first experience that we had that started in 2011. This is a really success story. That it was a demand from the R&D ecosystem. They couldn't attract talent from abroad, foreign talent to do research in the city, and we built this project. And over 14 years almost, we have had more than 3,000 people hosted here, working between 1 and 4 months, staying for this length, more than 70 nationalities, and it has been a real success story, as I was mentioning. We do not only provide accommodation, but also we have these co-working spaces, meeting rooms, and also something that was stressed by my colleagues also. This community manager profile is really important in order to make it live, to identify and to foster new synergies between people, in order to do this cross-sectoral work and make new projects and new businesses be created and grow. This success story led us to this bet that we have in this entrepreneurship strategy, which is Ekin, that we opened in February this year, in 2024. So it's a brand new project. And as I was mentioning, as Talent House, this is a quite unique case in Europe, because it is a 100 public sector bet project, but with the co-design and shouldered by all the ecosystem. And this is an open space to push forward advances innovation and entrepreneurship in San Sebastian, dedicated with a focus on young people, but also startups, local and foreign again, and businesses, in order to help them develop and scale up innovative projects. But also with this the view in connecting the key agents, not only at a local level, but also at an international level. And this is the kind of hybrid approach that we have when it comes to physical spaces, as I was mentioning with Mart when we were preparing the presentation. I mean, we understand as an entrepreneur, you need these physical spaces, as Stephen was mentioning, but you also need these services that we are also providing, as I was mentioning before, but you also need this sense of community, and that's why we act as platform, but you also need this personal coverage. And that's why in this new Ekin project, we have 70 apartments. We have those shared spaces like living room and work areas where in a personal way, you can also interconnect with other people that are living there or just having a time there. But also in the same building, you can find all that you need because we have the Advanced Entrepreneurship Center with this one-stop shop and office for space for entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs office, the workspaces, as co-working, the meeting spaces, training rooms, also these open spaces for meeting and presentation, and conference room. So I mean, you have, from a physical point of view, everything you need, but also you have these, and this is one of the challenges for us that we have now in order to make the leap in San Sebastian in fostering entrepreneurship. We have these community manager services. We also have an academy. I'm not going to go into deeper details, but in order to also foster these innovative projects from the human capital point of view. And we have all the premises in a really nice environment, as you can see. So this is everything from my side because I'm running out of time. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and obviously, if you have any questions, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll also have Luke join us. So first, I also would like to say that the presentation by Xavi and then Eeva before, the examples were actually coming from good practices of the Inter-Europe projects. So those who are in the audience who are also a part of the projects, you see that it's worthwhile sharing these good practices in written form because then we get to identify them and invite them to be speakers, as Xavi spoke just now. And I'm really impressed by what you're doing. You know, this public bet on this apartment building. I think this is something that all the other urban attendees here need to keep a close eye on how it works for you. But it sounds super impressive because we hear this housing shortage in different regions, but also in some rural areas where you might even have actually a pretty attractive co-working facility or some sort of a hub, but then still the potential tenants would say that, but I have nowhere to live in your area. And then we see that even in these rural areas, the hubs are setting up some guest apartments and things like that to help still invite these digital nomads or other workers. So it's really interesting to see how there has been this decision made that we really need to provide this physical space to the entrepreneurs. You mentioned that since the pandemic, you've seen a new demand from the entrepreneurs or businesses. Is there anything else you would like to mention besides the apartment spaces? Was there something else, some new services that the entrepreneurs are looking for in your experience?
What we have seen is that, I mean, during the pandemic, I mean, we had different kind of demands because the situation was changing, but somehow we are coming back to the previous situation. We are not in the previous situation, but what's really the difference here and the difference that we can make is not just providing the physical space. If you don't provide us those services, if you don't organize events, if you don't bring thematic experts that can just tackle the main issues that we all know that entrepreneurs have, and I mean, we also know them because I mean, we on a daily basis we are working with them, trying to help them. If you don't do that, if you don't tackle financing issues, if you don't bring investors, if you don't teach them in the gaps that they have, you are not providing added value. I mean, you can provide all the physical spaces that you want, but I mean, you are not bringing the most important thing, even though the physical space is always important. But as it was mentioned, I mean, you can always work with a computer and find a meeting room, but the difference is made in the other side.
Thank you for the answer. Luke, any questions from your side?
Yes, thank you, Mart. We would encourage the audience also to submit new questions. We still have a few minutes. Maybe from my side, a question about your new project. Just started February, I think you mentioned, or do you already have some first trends? Who is asking for it? Who is needing it? Is it inside community? Is it external community? Is it both? Do you already have a mix of users?
It's been quite challenging since, I mean, we opened the building in February, but the accommodation wasn't ready until May, because as a public, public procurement is quite tough. We had some issues in order to have all the what comes with the apartments, all the furnitures and so on. So we started with this academia, but also with the one-stop shop for entrepreneurs and providing those services. And now we are starting to host the first local entrepreneurs, and we are also developing new services and programs in order to attract foreign entrepreneurs. And in these services and programs, we offer them with a great discount. I mean, because it's not free, obviously, the opportunity to be hosted in our premises. And there, I mean, it always depends on the let's say on the field of the project. I mean, it can be someone from Latin America or from Norway. If, for instance, they are working on the biosciences field and they want to come here because we have, great research centers, great companies, and so on. So we don't have yet identified a particular trend, but we know that this kind of combination of services and premises is attracting a lot of interest. And in fact, we have the first demands from entrepreneurs, because we also have, I didn't mention, but we also have some spaces for bigger companies that want to stay for a brief period of time, like between 1 and 6 months. They want to settle down and have a first contact with the territory and the different agents and so on, and to study if they can settle here and it's a viable opportunity for them.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. I remember having the discussions with people from Portugal with some kind of offers which go a bit in that direction, saying, okay, it's especially interesting to attract people from Brazil because of the language. You mentioned Latin America, probably you will have some dedicated programs going.
Yes, in fact, it's even though this is a quite multicultural city, because we are 25 kilometers from France. So here we speak Basque, French, English, and Spanish. But it is true that from a natural way, people from Latin America can come more easily than from other parts of the world.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mart. I don't see any more questions at this stage, so
I will basically have one more question to Xavi, but then also starting to loop in Stephen and Eeva to go to this panel format in the end of the webinar. I was curious, these 7 business centers you have, do they operate in silos, or do the managers of these buildings, do they also get to sort of meet and exchange the challenges and opportunities? Because I picked up earlier from Stephen that for them it's very important that these different co-working spaces get to communicate and learn from each other, and there's a space for that. I was just curious, with these bigger structures, the 7 business centers, do they operate independently, or is there also some sort of that the people interact and learn from each other?
They used to work independently, because the kind of companies that we had allocated in them was really different. The nature, the objectives, and the kind of people that were employed. But now this is part of the reflection that we are carrying on, and we are, especially with 3 of them, which are Theme, Enertic, and Pia, which are more dedicated to innovative projects. We're trying to bring them together and trying to offering them the same kind of initiatives and so on. And in fact now, and this is part also of the reflection, what we offer them is more to come to Ekin, the new building, because we're going to see how we refurbish, we redesign what we are offering them in our premises in the different business centers, because we want Ekin to really become the platform for innovation in the city, and we need to reorder our minds to see how we work with them on a daily basis in those business centers.
And thanks, Stephen and Eeva, for joining the discussion now. So some generic questions to all 3 of you, and then you can, whoever wants can go first to answer. And actually, these following questions, they were also either sent in advance by participants, or they came through the discussion, but we didn't manage to take them earlier. So one of the questions was how to really sort of encourage this cross-sharing of business ideas between these different entrepreneurs who come to the space, or how do you stimulate that it becomes really a community, that it's not just people who come in and use their hot desk or go to their separate working space, but really that they then somehow start learning from each other and become a community. So in your experience, what is the key to sort of encourage this sort of cross-sharing and collaboration?
I can weigh in on that one, Mart, if you want.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a hub manager. We don't own or manage any of the hubs. We're a value-add project. So, but we deal with all the hub managers. And it's back to what I said earlier about the hub manager, the skills of the hub manager, and why it's really important to get the recruitment is right around that. They need to get to know they need to take time to get to know their clients, their customers, the people that are coming into them. And they need to have that understanding of what sector they're operating in, understand the challenges, obviously, of startups, have that skill set so they know what challenges startups and entrepreneurs are having. And also, for bigger companies, multinationals, things that are looking for satellite offices. I think Xabier mentioned that as well. To understand that environment of what those people will need. And when they come in the door, one of our hub managers used to say, if I can get them in the door, I'll look after that. I'll offer them the concierge service. And from that, then they'll be able to build up, and they'll be able to understand what kind of project, what kind of events they need to organize for them. What kind of social events then maybe to get them together, how they can push people together. It's a skill, but there's a lot of art to it as well, Mart, I think, and that's down to the recruitment. I don't know if others would agree with that.
Well, I saw Eeva was nodding to some bits of your presentation. But
yes, in Alajärvi, our point of view is regional development, and I think regional development and business development is mostly maximizing chance. So we can bring people together and organize events and so on, but we really can't control what happens between individuals. So practically we make coffee, ask people, what are you doing, and what kind of company you work in, and then the discussion starts there and goes on. But we can't really control where it goes. So that's it.
But I really like this maximizing chance. I think it's a phrase I will steal from you and use in some other contexts.
Yeah.
Because often when you need to sort of explain what is the added value of your initiatives and projects, then I think maximizing
I stole
chances.
it somewhere. I don't remember anymore.
Well, this is replication. We're learning from each other, right?
Yes.
From San Sebastian about this fostering the entrepreneurial community in these spaces. Anything to add?
I agree with what Stephen and what we're saying, but I would point that if you follow the process or the how companies are evolving and you get to know them, not only just organizing events and doing some networking is appropriate, but also you can do like this Cupid thing that just trying to match in them because you are able to identify offer and demand. And something that we identify here, and it was quite interesting, is that from our experience, we had a lot of startups that could work together because some of them could become clients for the other and vice versa. Yeah. And they didn't know them. And that's something that usually, even if you organize social events and networking and so on, the knowledge is at the end of the day in this community manager or this person that is on a daily basis working with them, because this is the person that identifies, okay, I'm going to bring those two companies together because one told me that they had this issue and the other one this solution, but they don't know each other because they work in different fields or whatever. So this community manager, or I don't know, economic development manager figure is really, really important to this matching, not going far away from only networking.
Thanks. And also, I see in the chat we have Peller was saying another phrase, serendipity management, as creating these possibilities for chance meetings. And what you were saying actually now also brings back my memory to a few weeks ago when we were in Burgos and we had a discussion also on these co-working spaces in rural areas. And in the chat, there's Jenny, and I think she was saying also that her role as one of these hub managers is to basically be the Cupid, right? So to listen around the coffee tables in the kitchen what people were saying, and then try to see, okay, who could be useful for whom. So I think it's really interesting that you are also reflecting the same lessons. A question that came in today earlier after Stephen's presentation came from Marco, and he was asking, so how can these different hubs really attract new talents and help young people to discover unexpressed talent or to transform an idea into an entrepreneurial project? So do you have also any initiatives towards, let's say, the younger youth? I think, Xavi, you also mentioned you're trying to actually get young entrepreneurs. So how do you manage to attract them, this talent, to the spaces?
I'm not going to lie. Young people is the really unknown people for us, for Fomento San Sebastian. This wasn't the natural people we were working with. Okay. We started a few years ago, mostly with skills development programs, and we try to match or to bridge the gap between universities and vocational training centers and the labor market. But now we are developing our young talent, or I don't know how to call it in English, new line. And in fact, Ekin is one space dedicated to young people where they can discover what we can offer them in order to start a new business. And we are starting to develop, because we have a new strategy for young people and young entrepreneurs. And in fact, we are launching now a new program that is going to bring together young entrepreneurs from San Sebastian, 10 to 12, and 10 to 12 entrepreneurs from all over Europe. And they are going to be like in an accelerator. I can share with you all the information so you can spread the word if you want. And we will have international and local people, local entrepreneurs in different phases of their ideas or their business creation, working for 5 days. They will have insights from, and we are collaborating with Portugal, in fact, with the Startup Portugal, for example, and with people from Boston and so on. So they will have insights in order to, clear their mind and see where they can be more competitive and so on. So it's like a mini accelerator program for young entrepreneurs. And they will be hosted in Ekin for 5 days. So living and building this sense of community, which is really important when you want to build entrepreneurship, at least from our point of view.
Yes. And then please do send that info afterwards to me, and then I can forward it to the attendees. Eeva, because you also said that some of the users of your space are students. So was it something that you were aiming to achieve, or did it happen accidentally? And how do you work with youth?
We were aiming to have those. We have University of Applied Science in our team. So what comes to young people goes usually through their programs. They have a program for getting trainees to the companies in the area. And also many of the students who use our space come from this University of Applied Science.
Thank you. And Stephen, for you in Ireland with the connected hubs, is there a focus on youth? You mentioned learning at the hubs as one of the initiatives.
Learning at the hubs is available for all, but we focused on mature students because of the nature of hubs. Like if you're a young 18-year-old, you want to go off and have your college experience, right? You don't necessarily want to stay in your locality and be stuck there having your college experience. So it's focused on mature students, but it's open to all. But what has happened, and this is down to the hub managers themselves, identifying what the need is in their community. Study spaces for second level students. So some of the hubs are offering that. Now, when you're under 18, when you're dealing with under 18s, you have to be careful about your insurance and all that. But this is a local authority actually that was just happened to have a very innovative rural development officer there who's managing a lot of hubs. And but then we also, throughout, especially the rural hubs, we have this program called Coder Jojo, which is about teaching kids. This is national school kids, to get them into coding early, exposing them to it. So again, people coming into these hubs, they're from a very young age getting learning about these hubs and these facilities are actually for them and they're in their locality. That was a big problem for us here.
Thanks. And the last question, and one answer maybe from all of you, is in your view still, what is the role that a policymaker, a local authority or regional authority or maybe a national authority can play in, enhance the effectiveness of these hubs or co-working spaces to help stimulate entrepreneurship? So is there something key, in your opinion, on the policy level
Yeah.
that should be there? So Stephen, you can start.
Yeah, absolutely. So in Ireland, the local authority, it runs its services and delivers its services through commercial rates. So the businesses pay a building. I would love to see a situation where hubs, co-working spaces, because they have an entrepreneurial mandate and a job creation mandate, and are developing the local economy, they're building the local economy, that those hubs would get some sort of relief on the rates. I don't know what that will look like, but I think that would be very, very, very important, and it would have to be regulated, obviously, so that relief could be diverted back into the development of the hubs to offer even more entrepreneurial supports.
Thanks. And Eeva, for you in HUBI25, what are you looking for in terms of support from the public authority? Or what would have been easier for you if it had been there when you were just starting?
Well, of course, at the moment when we have a lot of development ideas, but we don't have funding, we would like to have funding, please. But for our local policymakers, I think it would be important to see that it's not only the co-working space that brings people in Alajärvi, but we also need to have nice places to live and good services and things like that. They have to be. We can't do alone everything in co-working space. They have to also look for other services and how are they working.
Yeah, that was also one of our, I think, key lessons when we had a workshop in Burgos about developing entrepreneurship in rural areas in general. And it was also the understanding that even if you have the most coolest, whatever business hub, if you don't have the proper road infrastructure, the kindergarten service and so on, then it doesn't work. So rural areas really need a multifaceted sort of policy approach to sort of develop different things in parallel. Yes. But going to the urban setting now again, Xavi, from your side, what is the sort of vital component from the policymaker side?
I'm going to say two things. A general one, which is to have a public sector in general, a more entrepreneur public sector. I mean, we don't have to, we are asking people to be entrepreneur, and we are being sometimes a little bit conservative from the public sector. I understand why, because I work for the public sector, but they have to be at the same level as we are asking the others in order to proceed. And one of the key issues Eeva was mentioning is always money investment, and how we can just bridge the gap between, in our case at least, between entrepreneurs and the investment. I wouldn't say this is they work in silos, but this is sometimes an unnatural way of relationship. And I see entrepreneurs more keen on working on their processes, on their products and so on, rather than having these relation with investors. And if we can come to a closer relation and a more natural relation, I guess that we will have better results.
Thank you. And thank you all for the insights you shared today. I hope it was also interesting for the audience, because we really brought in this really big, let's say, national and a big policy perspective from Ireland, but then we went to a very rural area, a very concrete one co-working space in Finland, and then we went back to the urban level with different business centers, but then a new concept of how to do it differently now that the sort of expectations have changed, the needs have changed. If there were any questions we didn't manage to answer today, we will get back to those people who asked it. Also, I saw that there was a very active chat going on. People were sharing their own experiences, examples, and so it was really lovely to see that. So in the last few minutes, I say a few more things of what else you can benefit from the platform. So, and great big thanks to our speakers. So this was a webinar organized. So this is a webinar organized by Interreg Europe. So it is about region development policies. That's why also the conversation was aimed at policymaking and the question in the end of the session. So we cover 36 countries in Europe. And it has, Interreg Europe has two actions. It's the projects and it's the platform. And this webinar today was organized by the platform. And the idea is really to exploit the achievements from the projects and sort of break down silos in our project communities and learn from each other. And that's why earlier I was mentioning that actually the two later presentations, they came from good practices submitted by Interreg projects. And Stephen, we actually met through one of our expert services as well. So we're trying to build a community here among policymakers with the platform. We have a team of international experts working on this. And what we provide is really people, knowledge, and expertise. So the people is the community, roughly 20,000 people on our platform, different policymakers across Europe. The knowledge is what you get through these events and through our written reports called the policy briefs. And expertise is then these tailored services we offer for European public authorities. They're called peer reviews and matchmakings and the policy help desks. And these are really tailored advice services that are available free of charge to both local, regional, and national authorities in Europe. And so far, we've had, since 2019, 77 peer reviews and 47 matchmaking sessions in action. There's a map there as well. You can see that some parts of Europe are quite have made use of the service many times. Some are still more vacant. So do look into it if you think your region should also make use of these services. And there's one example of the peer review service. So the peer review service is really a 1.5-day event where we, based on your policy challenge or need, we identify within our community up to 6 experts. And then we come in to your region physically, and we exchange on sharing the best practices and advice on how to solve your policy challenge. So it's really tailored towards you. So a bit different from a webinar format when we are maybe more on a general level. Then with this tailored service, we really go deep into your local context and your needs. And this example here is actually coming from Põlva County Development Center from Estonia, who was interested in how to brand their region and to attract tech-savvy visitors. So it was really also around remote work and co-working. And Stephen was one of the experts in that exercise, because we were also learning a lot about Ireland with this visit. And the goal was really to come up with recommendations that then the Põlva County Development Center could take with them and start doing something differently in Estonia. And having communicated with them a bit since then, they have already taken up some of these recommendations shared by the experts from Ireland, Finland, and Netherlands. And of course, actually, Eeva was also one of the experts I don't want to forget. So both Eeva and Stephen were part of this exercise last October. So thank you for your attention in this webinar today. Once the Zoom call closes, there's also a feedback survey. It takes only 3 minutes to fill in, and we would greatly appreciate to know what you thought about the event today, and if you have any suggestions to make them better in the future. Thank you again, all the speakers. Thank you, Stevens. Thank you, Eeva. Thank you, Xavi. It was really great to listen about your experience. I hope you also learned something from each other. And thank you for the audience again for the active engagement today. And until we meet next time, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.